and I watched my brother, and something inside me snapped. Like in that moment, like this huge revelation came to my mind as a 10-year-old that I knew that I wanted to do music for the rest of my life and I wanted it to change the world.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the very first episode of Saints in the Spotlight. We are here with Liahona Olayan. We are super excited to have her on. Liahona was a top 24 contestant on American Idol when she was just 16 years old. She's a native of Hawaii. She's been doing music now for the last 6 years professionally and has always just loved the comfort that music brings. And we are super excited to have her on joining us for this today. So, Liahona, I wanted to give you a chance to also introduce some more about yourself, fill in some of the gaps that I didn't cover. And I want to start off really with your beginnings, their early days in Hawaii and how you grew up and what that looked like.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, thank you for having me on this podcast. I'm so honored to be here and to be able to just share a little bit of my story and my beliefs in hopes that it might help other singers, artists, or people that aspire to keep their standards, that they can be successful, being able to stay close to God. But we take it back from the beginning. I was born and raised in the beautiful island of Hawaii. So I am one of 9 kids. I am the second oldest, but the first daughter. So I only have an older brother before me. And growing up in a big family is the biggest blessing ever. So the way I really got into music was when I was about, I want to say 10 years old. We were actually moved here to the mainland and we were going to school here in Utah. And so we were going to a private school called American Heritage. And during that time, there were only 6 of us. And it was really difficult because we all had such very busy lives and I hardly saw my siblings at all. So we would go to school from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. We do our sports, our music, and then we get back home like at 8 or 9, eat dinner, and then just repeat it over and over again. But in the moments that I saw my siblings, it was as if I lived in a house full of strangers. Like we did not get along at all. We fought all the time. And it was just so chaotic. There's so much contention. And, and it's only 6 kids at that time. But it was really, really hard for my mom because she felt like a failure as a mother. She hadn't raised her kids well enough to love each other and to really be a family. So my mom really, one day, it all just came down on her. She broke down. She got on her knees. She said a prayer and she asked the Lord, Lord, I am willing to do anything for my family. How can I teach them gratitude and humility? And in that moment, my mom explains the story as if it were like yesterday, but she had received revelation that we needed to leave everything behind. And so we did. That's exactly what we did. My mom and my dad said, okay, we're leaving this all behind and we need to return back to our homeland, which is Hawaii. So we did that. We sold everything. We went to the big island of Hawaii with just 2 suitcases. And there we lived in a tent. So we willingly became homeless. I don't know what kind of families do that, but my family did. We willingly became homeless. I'm like, what is this? And so the first time we arrived there, I was only about 10 years old. So thought it was a vacation. We set up our tents. We lived off the land. We had goats, chickens. And so I was like, oh, wow, this is so fun. And when we reached after like the third week, I was like, okay, like, why are we still here? Because I was still so young. I didn't really understand. And my mom was like, what do you mean? This is our home. I was like, there's no way this is my home. Take me back to, the private school, the house, a nice bed, warm food. But we had none of that. And so for a year and a half, we just lived off the land and we lived in a tent. And my mom did that so that we, one, would get closer to our Hawaiian heritage. And the second was to get closer to God. At that age, as a 10-year-old, was like, I think the first time that I really got to understand who God is and how much He loves me. And the first time I understood my purpose in life. So we were taken away from everything. We had nothing to do except for live off the land. We worked hard and we spent together a lot of time together as a family. So I actually got to know my siblings for the first time. Like they weren't strangers. I'm like, you know what? You're actually kind of chill. Like, what? This is kind of cool. So there was one Sunday where my dad was really frustrated that we weren't doing anything. And he went to my older brother and me and he was like, "Hey, what are you guys doing? Like, you need to go do something. Like, go outside and look at the leaves, go talk with the animals, do something, write a song." But he was just like naming things off for us to just get up, get off our lazy butts. And so I was like, okay, whatever. I didn't think much of it. But my older brother's like one of those like, oldest sons, like very
Mm,
obedient, super responsible, the parents' favorite. And then there's me, the rebellious one, total opposite, right?
rebellious second child.
Yep, that's how it goes. So, anyways, I didn't think anything of it, but 2 hours later, my brother comes back with a song that he wrote, and it was the very first song that my brother has ever written. And it was a song that obviously talked about his relationship with God. And in that moment, as a 10-year-old, I sat there and I watched my brother, and something inside me snapped. Like in that moment, like this huge revelation came to my mind as a 10-year-old that I knew that I wanted to do music for the rest of my life and I wanted it to change the world. So that was like the beginning of my career of writing music. From then on, like my brother and I started to write together. And then I reached the age of 16 where I was able to compete in American Idol. I made it to the top 24 as a 16-year-old. And after that, I went on to serve a mission in Puebla, Mexico. And I just returned last year. And that leads us to today. So,
Wow.
thanks to that journey, God has always been a part of it. Music is what brought me and God together.
Wow. So your family moved out to Hawaii and pretty much lived homeless for a while there. That is unbelievable.
Really?
Do
Yeah,
you
it
still
is.
feel like that affects you today? Like that time period and how that's affected your life?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's affected me in a lot of ways because one thing is we lived like that for a year and a half. When I got back from my mission, us as, girls for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we served for a year and a half. So I felt the first time as a 10-year-old, that was the first mission I ever served, honestly. And it's still like the most beautiful memories of my childhood. I have to tell you, I hated it at first because obviously I was like, where is my stuff? Like, where are my friends? What is this? But I came to realize that, your family is your best friend. And if you ever have problems, it's not through other temperamental things. You can't go to electronics. You can't go play with friends. You can't go to a sport. The only person you could go to is God. So those memories I still remember as if they were yesterday. And my family actually just took a trip last year in May, and we visited all the places that we had lived during that time for a year and a half. It was so like interesting to see because it's been almost a decade since we last saw it because I'm 22 now and we came back here when I was 12. So it was so beautiful to see all the places that really brought me to this journey of music that helped me and opened up my mind to see that my purpose was so much greater than I thought. And I wouldn't have been able to learn that had I not left to live homeless for a
Yeah.
year and a half, technically.
Do you miss it at all?
Living in a tent or Hawaii?
Uh, I guess living in a tent, that time with your family, do you miss that at all?
I wouldn't say living in a tent I miss because I'm going to be completely honest. That living in a tent was really hard. But the memories I made with my family on the island and getting close to our Hawaiian heritage, yes, I do miss it a lot. And honestly, I would never trade that moment for the world. And if I had to do it again, I would, without a doubt.
That's awesome. So let's move on a little bit to one of the things that you're probably the most famous for, which is your American Idol audition and that
Right.
whole process. As a 16-year-old girl with your brother coming into, you go from living in a tent to now performing on one of the biggest stages,
Mhm.
which I was reading on something. You didn't know that American Idol was like a national competition. Is that right?
No, I didn't. And that's the part that like low-key kind of embarrasses me. But like the story goes like this. So 16 was like the year of COVID. So it was 2020 when I was 16, and like they were doing virtual auditions for the first time. I've never watched American Idol before. I'm so guilty of it, like, I feel like people that are on the show are supposed to be like, "Oh my gosh, like, I've dreamed of being here," and, like, they were telling me all this stuff that they've, worked for years, and I'm, like, sitting there like, "I don't even know where the heck I am, like, what are these people doing here? Like, who are you?" And so when my mom, she went on Google, she just searched us up because she's like, "We need to get your music out there, like, we need to do more with your music," and so it was online, and so she's like, "Hey, you guys should just try out for this competition." And I saw it and I was like, "Oh, like American Idol." I thought it was a local competition, like, like you. I was like, "Yeah, we're gonna start small, right?"
Maybe
That's what I
local
assumed,
nationally, local to the
right?
US.
Right? I thought we were gonna start small. So I was like, "Okay, this is like a local competition. I could totally do this." So what the instructions were is like, if you have an original song, you're gonna just do a 2-minute recording of it and just send it in. So I was like, "Oh, that's chill." So I went on the piano with my brother, and then we sang this song that we wrote together. And, we turned it in and, like, we had so much fun with it, and I was just, like, kinda like, "Whatever," because I was focused on school, I was still in high school during that time, and it was my junior year, I was like, "I get my ACT, I got so many things to do." So, I kid you not, we send that in, and we don't think any of it. 2 hours later, that same day, my mom gets this call, and, like, it's the directors of American Idol, and I didn't know that the producers, you actually have to go through 6 auditions before you even get on TV. So I had no idea about that because we just zoop, went straight to the first audition. But she was like upstairs, just like screaming and stuff. She's like, "Oh my gosh, oh my gosh." And like I come up there because I think my mom's like dying or something. I'm like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, we're going to Hollywood." That's like all she said. And I was like, "What? Hollywood?" And so I was like, "Wait, what are you talking about?" She's like, "The singing competition you got in, like, we're leaving in 2 weeks. They want us on the plane. They have a hotel booked for us and everything." And then, like, all of a sudden, like, I just started to get confused. I'm like, "What?" I was like, "I thought this was a local competition." "Hollywood? Is there, like, a Hollywood in Utah? Is that, like, a town or a city?" She's like, "No, Hollywood, California." And then I start asking her questions, and she's like, "Don't worry about it. I'll tell you it on the plane ride there." So, like, she doesn't fill me in on anything, neither me or my brother, nada, zip. So we're on the plane, and, like, there's all these other American Idol contestants coming with us, and obviously I don't know that yet, so I'm just, like, sitting there chilling. I'm like, "Okay, it's just, like, a vacation in California or something, I don't know." And so we get on the plane, and she, like, starts to debrief me, and then she starts to, like, tell me more and more, and then, like, I start to get, like, super anxious. So I'm like, "Whoa." Like, I start to get this trauma and this shock. I'm like, "Wait." So she starts going, she's like, "There's gonna be celebrity judges, you're gonna be on national TV." I was like, "National TV?" And she's like, "Yeah, it's like a global stage for the world." I was like, "The world?" And she's like, "Yeah, and then Luke Bryan, Lionel Richie, and Katy Perry will be there." I was like, "Katy Perry?" And then I'm like, I had a panic attack. I was like, "I can't do this. Like, take me out right now. I can't go." So that whole process was just so chaotic. I can't even tell you. So we show up there, we get checked into our hotels, everything. Literally the next day, they do interviews with my brother and I, and then we're thrown right there on that stage where we walk in. And I was like, "I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why I'm here." I was like, "All I know is like, I just need to sing. That's it." And so, literally, that first audition, I could tell you, like, I was kinda half conscious, like, I was still trying to figure out what the heck was going on and,
You're
like,
trying to figure
how
out, is
big of
this
a
a
deal
dream?
this
Or is this a
was.
dream?
Am I hallucinating? And so when I got the golden ticket and during that first audition and they said so many, like, wonderful things, we talked about our story and all, like, that's when I finally, like, just went and, like, "Okay, I kinda need to think I need to educate myself a little bit on what I'm getting myself into here." So after that first audition, I, like, stayed up the rest of the night, like, really realizing what American Idol was, like, "Oh, it's a huge deal. It's, like, for America." And so that was my first experience from there, and then from then on, like, we went through each round, and I was able to learn a little bit more, grow a little bit more, but being on a global stage as a 16-year-old and my first time performing ever, I was like, "What the heck is this?" I'm like, "What?" Like, I should have died, honestly, like, there's no point in living there right there, but you know what? God brought me through for sure. He's like, "You're not gonna die, you got a purpose here. Just relax." But one thing I've definitely learned about with my relationship with the Lord is he definitely just pushes me. He throws me in it before I'm even ready. I learned that in the mission, I learned that living in a tent, and I learned it in American Idol. So I've kind of accepted my fate. I'm like, "All right, Lord, you ready to throw me in there? Just throw me in there. I'm ready."
I love that. Yeah, that is quite the, um, surprise. I mean, to literally be on a plane going to a competition that you have never heard of before, suddenly
I
you open a
know.
door and Katy Perry's right there. Like,
I know. She's like, "Sing for me." I'm like,
yeah,
"Okay, yeah, sure.
okay,
Yeah,
sure, I'll
I'll
do
give it
that.
my best shot."
Yeah, and he did. It was awesome. I just watched the audition right before this to get a refresher on it,
Aw,
and it's
thank you.
so
I
good.
appreciate it.
So good. Like, you really do have, like, there's a certain level of spark and entertainment flair that you just have. And yeah, those
Thank
judges are right.
you.
It was really, really cool.
Appreciate it.
And so what's really interesting about that audition though is that I look at that audition and then I look at who you are today and the type of music that you are and how that's shifted. You had this, this really cute, um, sister brother duo that was going on. This really sweet, fun, bouncy kind of song. To now, the style of music that you get into is it's more of that intensity. It's a lot more of that hip hop style. Like it's a pretty interesting shift in how that. So how have you shifted over that? How has your, I guess, music brand changed over time, and what inspired that shift?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one of the things that inspired the biggest shift in my music career is my mission. So I think it's pretty crazy because I always wanted to serve a mission, but I think during the year that I turned 19, there was just so much opposition. And like I was just thinking there were so many huge opportunities for me as a singer that there really was no reason for me to go except for the reason that God had told me to. And so I was like, "Oh my gosh, I don't want to go. I don't want to
That's
do
a
it,"
pretty good reason,
right? It's it's the best reason. It's the most valid. So I was like, "Dang, I can't go against his word because I never have, and that's how I've gotten here in the first place." But I think serving a mission in Mexico for a year and a half, when I came back, there's a lot of return missionaries that said that your mission blesses you for the rest of your life. And I was like, yeah, whatever. Coming back home on the plane, I was like, that's just what everybody says. Like, I don't know if it's true or not, but it's so true. I was proved wrong in that moment. One thing that's interesting is when I was about 16 years old, so when I started that American Idol journey, I started getting into production myself, like music producing and all that kind of stuff. And it takes years to really find your sound and hone in on it because as singers, you change all the time. Your vocal range will change, your stories and experiences. So, songwriting and all that will be different. And so, when was 16, I began to produce my own music. But it wasn't until I came back from my mission that I realized what finally like my sound was and I was able to hone in on it. And the only way you can hone in on your own sound is you have to keep doing it. Does that make
Mm,
sense? So, like,
yeah.
producing is not like just a one day thing. You're like, yeah, I think that's good. No, it has to keep going like for years and years and years. And so, with me, like, I've released and, produced and recorded so many songs, and every time it just gets a little bit better. So, it's like, practice makes perfect. But let me just tell you, when I got back from the mission, dude, everything just like zoop, it came into place and I learned so quick. Like I found my sound so quick. Like the 3 years before that, I was like, man, like what am I doing? All this kinds of stuff. Then I come back from my mission and like it's solid. Like everything's stable and I know exactly what I want. And a lot of that has to do with the spiritual growth that I had. It's so interesting to know that a lot of people don't realize that your spiritual growth ties into everything. Like if you're not strong spiritually, you're not going to be strong mentally, physically, emotionally. It all starts with the spiritual first. So when I realized that in the mission, like this has to do with my spiritual growth, everything is added onto that first. You know, that scripture, like, seek ye the kingdom first, and all things shall be added unto you. So that is literally what happened to me when I was like, hey, when I put God first, everything else falls into place and it comes so quick. And I wish people would just like, kind of just like figure that out because it took me forever. But like whoever listens to this, I hope just learn it now so you don't have to suffer later. But that was like one of the biggest things that I realized that my mission had taught me.
I love that. I really, really like that. The fact that what you say, like, if seek first the kingdom of God and everything will be added to you. Like there is a purpose God has for us, and it might not always line up with what we think. But eventually it leads us to so many more opportunities. And I'm sure that like the opportunities that you've had today are a big part of because you chose to spend a year and a half out of the industry in order to discover that part about yourself. And I absolutely
So true.
love that. So I want to get into some of the things that people don't talk about a lot more, which is the struggles. and the challenges that comes going for being in the spotlight. And so
Yeah.
in that early days after, after American Idol, what was one of the biggest struggles that you faced?
That's a really good question. Something that's really difficult is like the music industry. It's just, there's so much corruptness in it that I don't think people really realize. A lot of us, especially me, like I'm guilty of it. Like when we're young, we're like, oh, I have this dream. Like I want to be famous. I want to be a pop star in this, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes. But sometimes that whatever it takes is not what you plan it to be. So, something I realized when I was very young, and I've grown up with such goodly parents, but my mom said that there is no worth of money, fame, status, price that is ever worth giving up your standards. So, she taught me that from a very young age. And kept that with me ever since. And one of the biggest things as a woman in the music industry is being modest. It's not just dressing modest, but it's also like thinking modest. It's not sexualizing your music and not treating yourself like an object, which is a huge thing in the music industry because women or even men too. It's just everybody in the music industry in general. Feel like they have to like over sexualize and treat themselves as if they're an object, which is not how you make real music. Real music is not seen, it's heard. And so when I was 16 during American Idol, when you reach finally the top 24, they have all these offers from record labels everywhere. And so these record labels, they'll give you, you have to negotiate prices, how long you're willing to stay with them. Record labels have these contracts where you have to do what they tell you to. And a lot of that means you have to compromise your standards. So as a 16-year-old, I was like, oh my gosh, like all these people want me, like I'm going to do whatever it takes, whatever. But I did not know that the music industry does not care about your standards. And so when I went to all those meetings and those record labels and I saw those contracts and I sat there and listened as a 16-year-old, I wasn't really thinking of the business side of it. I was just thinking of the spiritual side of it. And I was looking, I'm like, yeah, maybe you guys will help me to make great music, but you're not going to make me a great person. And that's what
Mm,
I care about more than anything. And so there was like this one contract where this guy was willing, because they like to bribe you a lot. So they just put money in front of your face and they're like, take this now, and I promise your life will change. And like you just see like $10,000 at 16 years, you're like, heck yeah, I'm willing to do whatever. But I remember this one contract, he said that the one that was representing the label told me that I would be able to make whatever music I wanted, but I'd have to dress the way that they wanted me to. And in that moment, I don't know, like, if you've ever felt that, but like, in the scriptures, it says like a stupor of thought.
yeah.
Like, it just feels so heavy. Like, I just felt like the world come down on me as like a 16-year-old, and I knew that I couldn't take it, even though I wanted that dream so bad. But like, I wasn't willing to give up my virtue and my standards because my mom had told me that exact thing. There was nothing, no worth, no price, no money, no status that is worth giving up your standards, period. You give that up. If you give up your standards, something you stand for nothing. And so I did not want to be that person. And so I turned it down. I cried that day. Oh, I
Oof.
cried so much. It was so hard to give up because it was such a big step in my career. Like it could have changed my life forever, but it wouldn't have changed it for the better. It would have changed it for the worse. And so I thank the Lord to this day for being able to protect me. And it's just so hard because so many people, they don't understand that you do not have to give up your standards in order to be great. Standards make you greater. But the world has normalized so much and they've brought the standards so low that people think it's okay and it's required in order for you to make it big. But I am a big witness of that is not true. Like modesty, standards, no drinking, no drugs, no alcohol, being clean, being good, being modest is the way that you are able to make it big. And you're going to make it big not only in this world, but in the heavens above. And that's what matters.
I love that. I really love that. With the backlash that you faced in those early days, how did that redefine, early on when you thought like, "Oh, I wanna be a famous singer," how did then the realizations of what the music industry was asking to do redefine your definition of success?
Yeah, that's a great question because, like I said, as a 16-year-old starting in the music industry, I was like, this is success. It's like Ariana Grande, it's like Beyonce, it's working 24/7, just treating your body like an object, just going, going, going. But if you really look at the personal lives of really big pop stars, they do have a very sad life because there's really no purpose into it. So there was a question that my dad had asked me when I finished my American Idol journey and I returned home. He said, if music were to be taken away from you right now, would you still feel like you have worth as a person? And I was like, "Oh, that's a heavy question because my life has been surrounded by it." I mean, even when I was younger, I was classically trained in the piano. My mom majored as a celloist in BYU, so music has always been a part of my life. So he said, if I were to take that away, or if God were to take it away, would there still be purpose and worth to your life? And so when I think about those pop stars that I wanted to be like, that was my definition of success. But the more you get to know the Lord, the closer you get to Him, and the stronger your standards are, the more you realize that the world's definition of success is just so temporal. When you die, you bring nothing of that with you. And I plan to bring everything back with me. And so when I was like, okay, this is not my definition of success. So that's when it changed for me. And the mission was the one that really molded that. When I came back and I arrived back in the United States, I totally changed the definition of success for me. And the definition of success for me as a singer now and to change the world and to be an artist has nothing to do with what it was before. It's not just, getting music out to the world. It's not just traveling and doing tours everywhere. No, my goal and the definition of success for me is to make music that's meaningful, that changes your life for the better. If I'm not doing that, there is no success and no purpose for me to be a singer at all. And so that's when my definition of success changed. And that's what it's been since I've returned from my mission and every day since. If I don't make music that brings people together, that uplifts them, that brings back light, that makes fun memories for families and friends, it's not worth being a singer.
I love that. Oh my gosh. You spoke to my soul there for a moment. Like the idea that like who are you without music if music's taken away from you. I love that your dad like asked you that question. It was for me that was a big one as a missionary too, going into a field where had been defining myself by my talents, by what I was doing in high school with music and theater and sports and all that. And suddenly you have to sit back and think about who am I without these things? Like who are you really? Who are you without
Yes,
describing what you do? And that kind of ties in with, as a musician and just really just as a person in whole, the importance of knowing what you stand for and knowing what you stand against. And
exactly.
so as you've developed that, not just as your brand as a musician, but also as a person, why do you feel like it's important to be very clear early on and define what you stand for and what you stand against before you start to get into, the bigger crowds?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's really important to know with certainty, without a doubt, what you stand for and what you stand against. Because the music industry will always try to change your mind. And I learned that from a very young age. They'll do it in all kinds of ways. They'll bribe you with money, with fame, with status. They'll help you to make your music bigger. They'll get you producers. They'll get you writers in the room. They'll have you sessions with the most famous people. They'll help you become a writer. They have so many connections and so many bribes that will try to change what you stand for and what you stand against. And it's so sad because in this music industry, there are so many that do. They give in every time because they don't understand that they feel like without those people, they'll never be able to be who they want to be as a singer. But it's wrong. There's a saying that if God be with me, who be against me? So you should always put your faith in the creator, the one that made you in the same image as he did. That's the one you should trust in, not the arm of flesh They have no idea why God created you the way you did. They have no idea why he gave you those talents. They have no idea why he gave you the life you had. They have no idea why he gave you the nose, the hair, the hands, why he gave you certain aspects, why you think the way you think, why you do. They don't know anything about that. And yet, the music industry teaches you so much to trust in the arm of flesh because all the results are right there. And something that I learned from a very young age is to not be a fence sitter. Like my mom always told me that. She's like, you cannot be lukewarm. Because if you don't stand for God, then you obviously stand for the adversary. And if you don't stand for the adversary, you stand for God. There's no in between. You can't keep hopping the fence back and forth because nobody really knows who you are, and neither do you. And so that was huge for me because I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, I have to know who I am. And the statement of who are you, everything you say about yourself is a statement. So the second you start to be a fencer and jump to this side, you're like, oh, I'm modest, but oh, for this occasion, it's okay if I dress this way. I'm clean, but it's okay if I just like drink once or twice. Those are fence sitters. You don't really know who you are, and you're not confident enough in yourself to stay where you are. Something I really learned that changed my life forever is my dad is one of the biggest role models of not being a fence sitter. And my dad grew up in California. So my dad grew up in a really poor area and he had a really hard life. And my dad from a very young age knew that he never wanted to be a fence sitter. And it sucks because in this generation, especially due to social media, there's a lot of people that will fence sit a lot. They'll be like, this is okay only when you do it this. But after that, it's not. There is no excuse to give up your standards, no matter what. And I have decided to live that way as a singer. So, one of the biggest things I've learned is modesty, especially for me, is a no brainer. I don't care what I'm doing. I don't care if I'm going to act, if I'm going to model, if I'm going on stage to sing in front of thousands of people. There is no excuse for me to be immodest. And that goes with every other standard I do. Why? Because if I give up that standard, I don't know who I am. And I don't trust in God's standards enough to stand for a minute. That means I'll be swayed as the waves and the wind pushes across the sea. And I don't want to be like that because it makes life so much harder. It makes life so much harder. People do not realize that. So do not be a fence sitter. Do not sit on the fence. You choose your side and you stay there. That is the most important. You stay grounded. There is no excuse to give up your standards ever.
Yeah. You definitely take a very like blunt stance when it comes to your standards on social media, and I love it.
Yeah.
I feel like we need to see more of it. How do you deal with the haters, as the kids say, when it comes to that? Because in the music industry, especially in the whole entertainment industry, when it comes to what you are promoting, which is it's modesty, it's we are not objects, we need to cover up, like have dignity. You'd think that would be a no-brainer, but it is a very controversial opinion in the
Yes.
entertainment world. So how do you deal with the backlash that comes with that?
Well, I think it's very interesting because when I was 16 and I competed in American Idol, it was the first time I had received like backlash. And it was the first time I was confused from it. I was like, I don't understand. I'm doing something good. Why would people hate so much about goodness? But there is a scripture in the Bible, and the Lord says, they hated me before they hated you. And so I stand for the Lord and I always try to be a representative of him no matter what I do. Even if it's worldly music I have to make, even though I go do a concert and I make songs that don't talk about God. I don't always have to talk about God. I can be an example for him. And that way is through my modesty. So the hate comments I get, like I honestly laugh at them. I have like nothing to say because in the end I don't care what they're going to think. There's always going to be haters for things that are good. And I've learned that from a very young age. I mean, I've got it from people that are really close to me too. I mean, it's a very controversial topic. Modesty is a huge controversial topic, especially among women. And it just makes me so sad because I'm like, don't you understand the definition of true beauty? It has nothing to do with showing skin. It has everything to do with your soul. So modesty does not display the body, it displays the soul. So if you have a good heart, if you have a good mind, if you have a good spirit and you work for that, there is no need to show skin. And you will understand it because the closer you get to God, the more convicted you feel to become like him. And so I really want to push these narratives of it's not only even that, it's like women's virtue, it's saving yourself for marriage, it's all those kinds of things because it allows you to be free to reach your fullest potential and to understand how loved you are. People don't understand, especially the haters, they always tell me like, why don't you just let women wear what they want to wear? I'm like, okay, that's an interesting question to say, right? Because I'm not in charge of them, right? But I can always share how I feel. But modesty is a form of self-respect, and a lot of women don't understand that. It's a sign of confidence. If we look like historically through the times, queens of the old, and even now, like the Queen of England or Princess Kate Middleton, whoever you want to say, they do not dress immodest. They dress modestly because they represent a status. They are have crowns. They are queens. And queens do not need to dress immodest to prove their worth. Their self-esteem has a title. They have a crown. They are leaders. They are supposed to represent. So we are all sons and daughters of God, kings and queens. We need to act that way. And a huge part of that is the way that you dress. If a queen dresses immodest, it gives the symbolism of her status. How you dress reflects the way that you act. And a lot of people don't know that. But I'm like, this is important. Every single standard. And one of the greatest ones too is saving yourself for marriage. Like hookup culture is so huge these days. Especially for the young adults and our generation. Like it's so big. It's so normal to just go to people's house and just like sleep around and do all this stuff. There is no sacredness anymore to standards. They've taken it away. That's what the adversary does. Woe to those that take good for evil and evil for good, right? And so we need to bring back good. And so when those haters come to me, they're like, whoa, this is that. I'm like, I don't care. I'm bringing back good. And I'm doing this because I love you. You deserve to have a beautiful life, a life that is worth living, and a life that is full of true happiness. And if I get hates for that, I do not care because I want to make you a better person. I mean, it just reminds you of the mission, right? Like rejection left and right. You're knocking on doors. People don't want this and that, but it doesn't matter what the haters say because there are people that want to change. There are people that need you and there are people that looking. So like that's the same mindset I have every time I make a post on social media. There are people that are going to hate, but there are people that are going to need it. And that's the reason I post. I do it for the people that need it.
Wow. I want to pivot a little bit from this. I love this topic about really diving into your values and the importance of defining who you are in the industry. I want to now go into more the technical side, more the business side of the industry and how it works to help people understand what they're in for and how they can find success in that way. So when it comes to particularly the music industry,
Mhm.
how much do you think success is determined by skill versus connection?
That's a great question. I'd say as a singer and as somebody, you could be so talented, but the one skill that really gets you to get up there, get out there, has a lot to do with technology. So it is a lot of connections. And don't get me wrong, like there are so many singers that are so good. They're like cracked at singing. And I'm like, dude, why aren't you big? You know what I mean? That's the question that we all ask ourselves with singers, right? But it all has to do with connections and marketing. I mean, social media is one of the biggest ways you can get yourself out there as a musician. It's consistency. You have to constantly post every day, every day, every day, every day. And that's a job in itself. So the business side, it's 80% business, 20% music. And I hate to say it, but it is. Because me personally, I'm not a business person. I create music. I'm like, I don't care about this stuff. But my parents, I'm grateful for them. They're entrepreneurs, so they understand that to make a business, to start a business, to keep a business, it requires a lot of consistency. And as a musician, the biggest part of that is marketing. So marketing on all tables. You go to social media, you go to gigs, you go perform at people's houses, you go to open mics, you do whatever you can to get your music out there. And that is the hardest part of being a singer. I can personally attest to that. When I first started, I was like, I don't want to do this stuff. I just want to write music and sing. My mom's like, okay, well, that's not good enough. It's not good enough. So talent is just a portion, but business is really what makes it complete as a singer.
Do you feel like independent musicians need to think like entrepreneurs if they want to be successful in it?
1,000%. And it sucks, but you know what? We're in this together, right? Hard part about being an independent artist is you don't have the connections of the record label, but it's not worth it because you'd have to sell your soul for it pretty much. But pretty much they have those marketing strategies, they have advertising, they have those connections. So as an independent artist, it's your job to be the entrepreneur. You have to find those connections. They're not given to you. You have to figure it out for yourself. So if I've had to figure out a lot of things myself, but it makes it more meaningful as a singer. You get to know your fans one on one way more. You become more intimate with them, and it's a long process. It's really slow, but it's worth it. And I can testify of that. It is so worth it. It can be slow, but it's so worth it.
Building those connections, like what does networking look like done right? And what does it look like done wrong?
Okay. There's a lot I can say that of ways you can network right and a lot of ways you can network wrong, but I think I can just give a few. Networking right, one of the biggest ways is to build personal relationships with your fans. So many people like, you look at the big celebrities and like, "Oh my gosh, like they don't talk to their fans at all. They don't do this and that." Well, when you start small, especially as an independent artist, you need to be very intimate with your fans. They are the ones that push your music. It's not you. It's them. They are your networking, your fans. When you get to know your fans, they'll connect you to other people. And then those people become your fans and connect you to other people. The biggest way and the most correct way to network is to be one on one with your fans. You can do lives, you can DM them personally, you can do concerts at their house. I've done so many of those. And you know what? It's so beautiful because I get to know their families, I get to know more about them, and they get to know more about me. And that's how networking begins, right? And the other way that you can network perfectly too is through social media. Social media is free, it costs no money. The only problem is it takes so much consistency. To network perfectly through that means you have to like post on a consistent basis, almost 2 to 3 times a day, which a lot of people aren't willing to do because they're like, that takes tons of work. You have to think of a lot of ideas. But the more you do it on social media, the stronger the network becomes. People will start to reach out to you. You reach out to them. You start to find gigs and collaborations. That's a perfect way to network. The wrong way to network is getting someone else to do it for you. Okay. It does not work.
Mm,
I've tried that. And like you get these teams to try to do it for you, but it's not authentic. Nothing about it is authentic. So people will start to follow you. Don't buy followers either. Oh my gosh. Do not do that. That is such a waste of time and money. Like, sure, you get a number on your feed, but like, that's pretty much it. Those people don't really care about your music. They're bot followers. That's bad networking. So don't do that. And the last thing of all is don't burn bridges. When you make connections with certain people, keep those bridges strong. Like, even though you guys may have disagreements sometimes, it happens in the music industry all the time. Especially if you write music and you produce it, everybody's gonna be like, I want this percentage, I want that.
yeah.
Build your bridges and keep them. Do not burn the bridges. You got to figure out and compromise from there. You burn the bridges, that's a network done bad. And I'm sorry, but it makes it so difficult. So I think that's a couple of the biggest advice I could give in that.
Yeah. You brought up splits, payment splits. Like that actually ties into another question I want to ask about if I'm an aspiring musician, what do I need to understand about the legal side of music in understanding how rights work, understanding how like payment splits work and all the different things I need to understand about that world if I want to make sure I don't get screwed over, and two, I'm able to continue to do this for a long time.
Yeah, that's a great question. One of the biggest things, because it's one thing to be a singer, but also to be a songwriter. They're both different realms, and people don't really realize that because there are singers that don't know how to write music and they just sing on stage, but songwriting goes behind the scenes. So there's something called splits, right, that we talk about. And a big part of music is called royalties. So every time someone listens to a song, every person will get a percentage off of that. The way that you don't get screwed over is, first of all, you have to do your research. So that's super important. And the other thing is to register yourself in ASCAP. So ASCAP basically helps you to split the things evenly, your percentages. And it helps you to understand where your rights are as a songwriter and where they're not. Because I'm telling you, I've been in a few sessions where Certain singers are like, well, I should get this much percentage because I did this and that. It can all come down to like certain words. Like, I put the word you in there, I put the word of. I'm like, who even cares about the word count? But the music industry is just one of the most highest paid industries in the world that people can get really greedy really quick in writing sessions. So we need to remember that when we register for an ASCAP, we do our research. And the third thing of all is before you even step into a writing session or you do splits, you are very like formal and upfront about your percentages. So there's no excuse to split the percentage, no negotiating. You have to be very upfront with your splits. If you don't, they'll screw you over. They'll be like, oh, well, she didn't say this or that, so I'll just give her like 10%. They always do that. I don't know why they do, but they always do that. And it sucks. And the last thing of all is make sure you always have a written contract before you get into the studio. A lot of people don't do that because they're like, well, I don't want the writer to feel like, like this is like something just of money. But it is like you're going to create, but it is money in the end that plays a huge part. This is your job, this is your living. So you really need to make the most of it. So contracts, formal and upfront with your percentages, ASCAP registered, and do your research. If you can do all those four, you're most likely not to get screwed over. If there's a loophole, you might get screwed over, but I guarantee you won't.
How important is ownership?
It's so important. You have no idea how important ownership is. I can't even tell you. You can't even distribute music anywhere without ownership. And the ownership, the person that owns the music, the rights, you can own different things. So, for instance, like there's people in certain sessions, they'll split the ownerships. They'll be like, okay, I will own the lyrics and the words. You can own the production part, but I own the lyrics and the words. So it sucks when you don't have 100% ownership because you have to go through those people. You have to get percentages from them. They take royalties from you. So it's so complicated. You know what I mean? So 100% ownership is what you want always. Even if you have to do everything by yourself, it's better if you do everything by yourself than lose what you really want. Because as a singer and a songwriter, it's so important that you really get to keep what you have made. There's so many singers that have gotten screwed over. I mean, we can talk like Ariana Grande, Taylor Swift, big ones, but even independent artists that start, they get screwed over all the time. So it's important that you have 100% ownership. And if that means that you do everything by yourself, so be it.
When it comes to streaming, music streams, and artists who try to make a living off of that,
Mhm.
what's your opinions on streaming services, streaming payouts, how that world works, and is it viable, or should you always have supplement it with other avenues?
Yeah. So in music, streaming is one revenue to get music, but there are so many revenues to make music. And I strongly recommend you take other revenues than just streaming because streaming only happens after you release the song and you constantly have to let it play over and over again. But you have no idea because it takes so much money to even make that song in the first place. So there's other ways you can get money, and it's not just through streaming. And I would say that it kind of sucks. Video's a good distributor, and I think video is actually the best, honestly. But the point is, with any distributor, they always take percentages from you. So, Vidya, you use Spotify, Apple Music, whatever it is, they'll always take percentages. So, it would only work if you have like thousands of songs out there because one song, your revenue could be like you split it. So, like one song, let's say it's $1, right? The Spotify's like, "Hey, I get 10% every time someone listens to the song." But then Apple's like, "Okay, I get 10% too." And then you keep going and you have to spread it with all these distributors. You only end up getting like 30 cents in the end for one song. So unless you're releasing like thousands of songs every day and every year, that would be fine. Beautiful world, in a perfect world it would be, but it's not. The only people that get that are really big singers because the
Mm.
labels will constantly push people to stream them. But I would say get it from other revenues. And one of those revenues too is through songwriting. You get lots of rights and money from songwriting because when you own those rights, if people listen to a song that you wrote, you get percentages from that. The other thing too that I would strongly recommend is to get your music on TV shows and commercials. Like those are they earn so much money. Like there was this one commercial on Amazon that one of my friends, she's a really good producer. She helped to make the track of it and she still gets paid money to this day. And that Amazon commercial was made like 6 years ago.
Wow.
So those, yeah, those that's a great revenue. And concerts, gigs, those are other revenues. You always want to have at least 5 to 6 ways of earning money and getting all that cost from music. One will never cut it because it just doesn't work that way. I wish it did. That's what I thought at first. I was like, "Oh, my songs are out there. I'm gonna be rich." Wrong.
How do you feel like AI is going to alter the landscape with the music industry here in the next 5 years?
Man, I have like a love-hate relationship with AI. Like, there are some things I definitely love about it, especially as like a musical producer. There are a lot of tools that I use
Mm,
that are AI generated, and they're great. They're amazing. But when I see certain AIs take over the vocal part of it, oh my gosh, that's when I hate AI because it's getting so good. But the point is, I will say AI has taken over a lot of different industries, and I think it will take over even more. But I will say one thing with music, it's all about natural and rawness. And it's all about, being yourself, which AI can never replicate. In my personal experience of helping others to produce and even myself, it will never be able to replicate that no matter what, especially in the next 5 years. I think it can be a huge help to the music industry, but if we overdo it, it can be a great damage. And so I'm hoping like other artists just like me are like, hey, don't be dumb with AI. Like, be smart.
yeah.
Use it for the things you need. But once you start to overdo it, it causes a lot of damage and it ends up ruining the music industry in itself and the authenticity of it.
Yeah. We're already seeing a lot. I mean, there's songs that have gone viral, just
Yes, on
blown
social
up
media
on
from AI,
Spotify,
right?
and they're all AI generated. The band doesn't exist.
Right.
Something that I see more and more of with the music industry and the importance, one, like you said, of being authentic, and then also of just like when AI floods the marketplace and we just have tons of music out there that's just everywhere, then the one thing that you will be the connection that you have with your fans. That can't be taken away. AI
Amen.
can't replicate that. AI can't mimic that. Like that is all you will have left when AI takes over the world.
All you got. Got to make it count, you know?
Yeah. And so I feel like, yeah, fans are going to be huge. The ability to connect with people on a very personal level is what's going to separate your successful musicians versus those that continue to struggle.
So true.
So we got a few minutes left here. First of all, thank you so much for coming on here. This has been awesome. You've given us some
Thanks for
great
having me.
insights. Love the stories that you've shared here. Before we go, I want to ask a little bit and talk about the legacy that you hope to leave behind and where you're going next. Like what's next for Liahona? When all is said and done, like what do you hope people remember about you?
When all is said and done, I hope that people remember about me that I brought good to the world. And that's an important legacy for me to leave. I left it better than it was before. If I don't leave the world better than it was before, then I'm really disappointed in myself. And so that goes with everything I do. So every post I make, every song I produce, every lyric I write, I want to be able to leave the world better than it was before. That is the legacy I want as a singer and as a human being and as a daughter of God. And so, it's really hard because a lot of people don't really like good anymore. It's so different. They like drama, they like negativity, and it's really difficult. It's really difficult to be good these days. But that's what makes it even more worth it. And with my music for this upcoming year of 2026, I want it to be and reflect exactly who I am as a person. And I've only wanted to change the world and make it better. And I really feel sorry for the people that think otherwise of me because that's never my intention. I really do want to be a representative of God, as I was as a missionary, at all times and in all things and in all places. And even though I don't have the badge anymore, I hope to still bring people closer to Christ through whatever I do. And that's the type of legacy I want to leave. So that when I go home, the Lord can say to me, to my face, "Well done, thou good and faithful servant." and then I'll be finished.
If an aspiring Christian performer remembers one thing from this conversation, what should it be?
Hmm. I think what I said before, I just like can't say it enough, but there is no worth, no price, no money, no status, no fame in the world that is worth giving up your standards. That is what I would leave with you. There is no excuse to give up your standards.
And what's next? What do you got coming up here in the next year?
Oh, I'm so excited. My new album for this year will be releasing. I'll be releasing them single by single. But the first song I'll be releasing releases January 30th. And it's a
Next
song
week?
I just wrote. Yep, it's called Loving You. And it's a song that I actually wrote with an experience I had on the mission. And my social media shares a lot about that, but I wrote it about a convert that had passed away during my time of service there. And it was really hard for me. But that song is really close to my heart. And I'm excited for the songs that come up these next months. I'll have some songs that talk a lot about standards. The next song I'll be releasing is one that's called Elegance, and it talks about the very standard that is very controversial, modesty. But this one it's a beautiful song, and I think it preaches a lot about the importance to remember where true beauty comes from. It has nothing to do with skin. It has everything to do with the soul.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Folks, go follow her, Liahona Olayan. She's got music coming out. Go follow her YouTube, social medias. This has been great. Thank you so much. This has been an awesome, awesome interview. And I personally am so excited for this next year and the music that you're going to be releasing and see how your career develops. It'll be really fun to watch.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you,
I had so much
Liahona.
fun. Thanks for letting me blabber.
I'm glad.
I was like, talked a lot.
That's the goal. We want you to be able to share different. People don't care about our stuff. Like, this is who they want to hear.